Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got more updates on the Jeffrey Epstein situation, with now Laura Trump coming out and saying the administration will be presenting more evidence in the case. You can see Trump administration to release more evidence in the case, according to Laura Trump, which only adds to the questions of the administration potentially lying. There's a potential cover-up here as it relates to what Pam Bondi said last Sunday. They said nothing exists anymore. We don't have anything. He didn't kill himself. We've got the video that turned out to be edited by Adobe Premiere, and nobody believes the administration. They've tarnished their reputation. The trust, even among the hardcore MAGA boomers, is in the gutter at this point. And so for Trump, we're going to come at this from a few different angles. What does this mean for the midterms? And really, what does this mean for the administration? How do they move forward and try and repair this in some way? And there's all the speculation about blackmail, possibly other countries, Israel having things on Trump, Tucker Carlson going out at a rally and saying, yes, it was Israel, we admit it. People getting very angry about that. But let's just take a look at the midterm situation. You can see the Senate, you look at the matchups, the Republicans should be able to keep the Senate. Hopefully they'll get around 54, 55 seats, but worst case scenario, it should be 51-49, but hopefully it's 53 or 54. The real argument is the House. Now, Republicans are trying to redistrict some things to add a few seats to make it easier for them to try and keep a very slim House majority. Right now, the Democrats, according to the betting, around a 72% chance. Doesn't really matter this early in the game when we're talking about even a year from now. It's not even going to be the midterms. The midterms are in, 15 months? It's a political eternity. So when you talk about something like this coming up, when it's coming up, if this was a year from now, you'd potentially be dealing with a problem in terms of the midterms. I don't think this is going to be a significant thing to where it affects the midterms in a super negative way because of the political timing. But I will say, if you look at it from a different lens with Musk, and if he really does launch that party, unfortunately, this issue is the perfect topic for his party, because this is a uniparty thing. This is Democrats covering it up for 4 years under Biden. This is Republicans now sweeping it under the rug. And you look back at Trump, we understand the timeline. He was always coy on releasing the files. Then he said, we'll do it. And then sometime within the last few months, there's been this huge 180. Is it behind the scenes? Is there other things at play like blackmail with Trump? I mean, this is where you start factoring other things in when there's a 180 public turn. Now Trump's like, well, we don't care about this at all. But when it comes to the idea of a uniparty cover-up, that's where Musk excels in. And when you look at the Epstein situation, yes, it still looks bad for Democrats, and it's kind of hard for them to argue this, but the Republicans were the ones, and Trump said, we want accountability within the government. We will be the ones that release it. We want to drain the swamp and rid it of all these disgusting creatures and just all of the terribleness that happened with potential, relations with Epstein, with those women, and in some cases, unfortunately, girls. But we see Trump going back on it. It's a big problem, and he loses trust. And the issue is not necessarily the Democrats when it comes to a lot of these House races. If it's Musk potentially siphoning votes off of Republicans, it's not like an America Party candidate's going to win. It's that the America Party candidate could take 7 or 8% away from the Republicans, maybe only 1 or 2% away from the Democrats, and then the Democrat beats the Republican by 1 or 2% because the America Party candidate siphoned votes off. That's the issue we're dealing with in terms of this. They need to somehow fix this. It seems like the administration now has at least some awareness. I mean, you look at what Trump said at that cabinet meeting last week. It was like midweek, cutting in front of and saying, Pam, I got this, let me respond. And then saying, well, why is everyone talking about this? It's, we should move on. He gets just so much backlash. And then he triples down because they put out the first statement. Trump doubles down on it. Remember, they put out the memo. Trump doubles down on it, and then he triples down on it on Truth Social and says, oh, Obama, they manipulated it. He blames the Democrats. That's not going to work. That's not going to work in this situation. And then he gets ratioed on his own platform. And now, apparently, this is what's being reported. The administration is going to release more evidence. And whatever it ends up being, it's not going to suffice unless it's like crazy stuff. Because even if it is crazy stuff, they'll just say, well, they're picking and choosing what to release because they have no trust of the people. There will be too much skepticism involved. They're not going to trust it. So no matter what they do, it is a problem. You can try and patch it up, but you could maybe assign a special counsel to it and have it reinvestigated, because according to the DOJ, it's close. I mean, there's nothing left to investigate. It doesn't exist. And apparently it did exist. So the other thing with Pam Bondi is, it's a very simple question. You said it was on your desk, the client list, and then you said it didn't exist. So what happened to it? And I would imagine she's probably going to say, well, I was referencing something else, or I don't know. I know they were talking about all the videos that can't be released because there's explicit content. But I mean, who was in the videos? You know, is there any politicians? I mean, these are very obvious things that should be asked. And so my thought is, well, will it affect the midterms? It depends how they handle it. The issue is the America Party, potentially, because again, it's not like the Democrats have a scot-free run on Epstein. I mean, they hid the entire thing for 4 years. If you want to talk about a uniparty problem, this is it. I mean, where were the Democratic voters coming out and saying, we demand this to be released? And I'm not trying to absolve Trump. I understand it's a very, very bad look for his administration, and he's been extremely tone deaf, and I don't know who's advising him, because he's putting out these statements, and it's just making it, it's compounding it. It's already bad. Now it's 10 times worse. Now it's I mean, they did it to themselves, and just the way it was mismanaged with Bondi. They could have skated by and sold the base that, oh, they were already destroyed by the Democrats, and the base probably would have bought it. There would have been questions for sure, but you wouldn't have done something like where you string them along and you say there's evidence and then you say it doesn't exist anymore. That's the problem. Charlie Kirk says, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. Gonna trust my friends in the administration. It says did Donald Trump call Charlie Kirk, ask him to tone down his criticism of the Epstein files? I don't know if that's true. I don't know who this is. But yeah, it is curious that Kirk, who hosted a big event this past weekend with Tucker Carlson, with Megyn Kelly, and they were all beating on it, and they were all saying, Megyn Kelly was saying Pam Bondi needs to go. They were trying to scapegoat Pam Bondi, who Trump just apparently loves. And all he has said is just how great of a job Pam Bondi has done. And we thought, well, it was going to be Bongino or Bondi. It was reported Bongino was taking the day off on Friday. It was like a protest. He wanted to, and there's still some reports saying Bongino's done. He's going to resign. I don't know if that's true or not. Trump said yesterday, he was asked about it, and he said Bongino's a good guy. He's staying on. Patel said he's staying on. So there's going to have to be some form of accountability. I don't know exactly what it is, but no matter what it is, the problem is the toothpaste is kind of out of the tube now. You can share some type of Epstein evidence, but number one, that admits you had previously lied about the evidence you had or didn't have. They said they didn't have any. And number two, the evidence that you share, people are going to say that's not the entire thing. That's not the entire file. That's not the entire amount of evidence you have. You're keeping stuff hidden. And so you've shattered the public trust of your base, because the Democrats can say whatever they want, and they can, but the issue is the base now, because it's always a 50-50 thing, Republicans, Democrats, especially for an issue like this. And you would think it would be a very easy win. But again, we don't know everything, all the components. It's very, very complicated, I'm sure. And I'm not trying to absolve him of this, but I'm saying, there's probably some type of, I don't know if there would be blackmail. I just, Trump has got to be the number one most vetted person in the United States. He's ran for president 3 times. So who has blackmail on him? Are they saying Israel does? I mean, that way, you'd think that everything would be used against Trump at this point based off of, and they would exhaust everything, but I don't know. But maybe it's bigger. Maybe it's a whole uniparty thing. Maybe it would destroy the economy when we're, on the verge of all of this. I'm not saying that's a great reason to do it. I'm saying, depending on how many people are implicated in this, it becomes a bigger issue in terms of, you're talking about hunting down certain people. They know that they have to give the base something, but it is interesting now that some of the big speakers like a Kirk are coming out and saying, well, let's not talk about it anymore, even though it seems like the base has been, at this point, on this issue, turning on Trump. Now, is that a political, it's happening right now, give it 5 days, people have the attention span of a goldfish, there'll be something that happens in 3 days and people forget about this? I think everyone's waiting to see. The problem is when Trump bombed Iran, well, first Israel did it, and then Trump said, you know, he was in cahoots with Netanyahu on you know, understanding that Iran would have their guard down, and the United States wanted to negotiate with them, and that's when Israel did it. Everyone, a lot of people at least, overreacted and said we're at war with Iran, and some people still say that. But what we did was, and this is just what happened, and look, maybe this will lead to a bigger situation in Iran. I certainly hope it doesn't. I wanted there to be a nuclear deal. But, I mean, so far I would say I'm wrong in terms of that because Trump got in, got out, destroyed a lot of their nuclear infrastructure. People screamed. They said it would for sure be a huge Middle Eastern war because of the Iranian response, and Iran did nothing. Now, maybe they will do something because they're emboldened against the United States and Israel, and I can understand that being a criticism of Trump. But at this point, they haven't done anything. So you could kind of explain that away as people overreacting. The issue with the Epstein thing is we can forget about it or we can put it in the rearview mirror, but anytime it gets brought up, this is what happened. It's extremely negative for the administration. They completely botched this. So when you talk about something like the midterms, yeah, it's probably going to get brought up by the Democrats, but I think the bigger situation is possibly Musk throwing a bunch of money at House races that in a House that undoubtedly will be close, even with this redistricting, if they're able to do it, the gerrymandering, I mean, both sides do it, it's whatever, but it looks like Republicans are really going hard in Ohio and Texas and trying to redraw the districts to manipulate them because, you know, they're very desperate to try and keep the House. Because you know what happens if they don't. We have to deal with the whole charade and just the waste of time in terms of probably impeachment filings against Trump, which won't go anywhere because we have the Senate. We're not going to lose the Senate. But if the Senate gets really close, then maybe it's a bit more of a problem. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll be 53 or 54 in the Senate. The point is, when it comes to the midterms, I think the America Party could be a bit of an issue, depending. I mean, who knows? Musk is just a complete wild card. The America Party might not even happen. I'm not saying that to try and cope. The guy is just completely, you know, 5 months ago he was saying he wanted to run, and anyone that was voting against what Trump was doing, he was going to run patriots to primary them and throw a bunch of money at them. And now he's doing this despite Trump. He's just not, he's unpredictable. So I don't know if this is going to go through, but I'm saying, you know, that is a perfect issue for their party, for an independent party to say Democrats, Republicans, they both cover it up. But undoubtedly, they would take more of a voter share from the Republicans because the Republicans have been louder on this, and there was independent people that voted Republican that wanted this to come out. And now that it's not coming out, and Trump is acting in such a negative way and telling people basically, you're stupid, stop talking about this. Nobody basically trying to tell the base not to care about something that supposedly he was going to release. We understand the problem. And so you also have Ghislaine Maxwell, Congress attempting to prevent Ghislaine. Is this serious? Congress attempting to prevent Maxwell from disclosing Epstein client list. She was going to testify. And so just what a mess this entire situation is. So we'll see if that ends up happening or what goes on there in terms of her possibly talking. And I think everyone was saying, we're like, well, she's still alive. Maybe talk to her. I think she probably knows a thing or two about who was on those airplanes. And maybe Congress is like, yeah, we were good. We're good on the interview with her because we know as well. And it's a big problem for them. And it's very likely a uniparty issue. So we'll have to see what happens with this. I mean, they've botched it to the point now. They're trying to maybe recover it. At least that's what Laura Trump is saying. She's saying they're going to be releasing some stuff. But that's just admitting they blatantly lied about the information that they said they didn't have. Maybe what they'll try and do is they'll release certain things that they're not a client list. They can say, well, we have this, but we don't have that. And we were talking about that. We were saying we don't have X and Y, but we have Z, and we'll release Z. But I mean, either way, it's just like, I don't know. It's just when you lose the trust like this of the base, that's the problem. That's the problem. And it's one of those things, do you try and hope it goes away? The issue is Trump was supposed to be an outsider in all of this, but, you know, this is seemingly appeasing. And I know there's probably a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and whether or not you think there was some type of change of heart, which obviously it was probably Trump being presented something, being threatened about something, and he changed his tune. Trump had been pretty consistent prior to the actual election to where he would say, well, there's people on that list that, you know, are actually innocent and they don't belong in it. And he was very coy about it. And I don't think he was talking about himself. I think he was talking about people that he knew. So we'll have to see in terms of that. But either way, guys, make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.